What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith. Now, this episode, if you are pissed off with how the Denver Broncos did last season, well, this episode is for you. Folks, I have a 7-round mock draft coming to you live. I got special guest Mike Williams, really good friend of mine, joining me today. We about to set your world on fire. Mock draft on the way.
Touchdown with Doug Smith, celebrate, that's a new move. Heisman, true views, catch him on YouTube. NFL coverage, interviews, new news, who win, who lose, comedy, you choose. It's not about moolah, the QB's like Tua is missing in action. No L's on my shooler, play it like Marino, it's a gamble like casino. Hungry for it, but you know we still gon' try to feed the beef. Rivalries will lead the conference, Cowboys of the Eagles. Will Belichick be a threat? Better check. Tomlin on deck, much respect to the vet. What to expect? Gotta tune in for the rest. Make sure to sub, like, check. At the best, bad boy, the sports podcast for the threat across the north, east, south, in the west. Sitting back, clueless, time to tune in. Now another sports center, it's a movement.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith. Now, this week we've been dropping mock draft after mock draft, and I got another heavyweight champ in the house with us today. Coming back on the show a second time, I got my very good friend, longtime friend, Michael Williams on the show with us today. Longtime Denver Broncos fan. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, what's going on, brother, man? Good to be here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, super happy to take and have you. And as I said, as you see in the title, and the reason you clicked on that button, we're going to do a full mock draft of all 10 picks for the Denver Broncos for the 2021 NFL Draft. Okay. Now, Denver Broncos, man, wow. What a season. Lot is happening. John Elway, he playing musical chairs. He stepped down, I believe it was, right?
Yeah, he took a quote-unquote promotion so he could get a new GM in there. He's like the vice president of operations now, and then we got George Payton in there, so that's fantastic, man.
I got you. But before we even jump into the draft, I just got to say that does take some humility, because as much I know Denver Broncos is kind of like a civil war on who likes John Elway and who doesn't like John Elway. But look at other teams. Look at the Philadelphia Eagles with Mr. Roseman. Refuses to step down. He knows he sucks at his job. He's like, oh, but this is our year, look at Jerry Jones and their self-suicide that they do every single year with Jerry Jones doing Jerry Jones things. So this is dope. This is an exciting time for the Denver Broncos. Now, let's kick it off. You guys got the 9th pick in the draft. You guys are sitting pretty. You got a really nice spot. I know the season wasn't the prettiest. Y'all got the, they call it the injury bug. Y'all got the injury cancer. Like, y'all got, it was a tidal wave of injuries that hit your team, man. But you guys are playoff bound, stars on your team left and right. So starting off now, you guys are sitting really pretty at pick number 9. That's a really great spot to be in this year's draft. Now, quick disclaimer for anybody who's watching this and, look, we haven't hit free agency quite yet. Okay. There's not going to be much of a combine this year. It's going to be more kind of like individual workouts and stuff. So there's going to be people who are supposed to go in late round 1, 2, and 3 who are going to take and slide. And they are going to slide like they had a slip and slide. They are going to slide really bad. And there's going to be some people who are supposed to go in rounds 5 and 6, maybe 7, who are going to go in rounds 2 and 3. So there's going to be talent all over the place. We've never had an off season like this before. But let's kick it off. Mike Williams, you're expert in this. Denver Broncos analyst. Round 1, pick 9. Who do you got?
Yeah, man. So really looking at it, I know you talked about this last time I was on, but I do think Drew Lock is going to be cool. He had obviously last year we had the highest payroll in the NFL on injured reserve, like not an opinion, like factually speaking. So I just think he wasn't in a situation to win. So I'm not one of the people like trade up and get a quarterback or see what quarterback falls. Our defense, people don't realize, has been old. Like we're starting to age out, and we have the biggest need we have on our team, in my opinion, is cornerback. So I think we'll probably pick somebody up in free agency and still draft 1 or 2 players in the secondary because we have that many holes, man. And so in my opinion, the 9th overall pick should be Caleb Farley out of Virginia Tech. I like Caleb Farley a lot, man, because he has the highest upside of any corner in this draft. Patrick Surtain, the kind of debates between them, I believe Patrick Surtain has like a higher floor. So, if they both had terrible careers, Patrick Surtain's career would be a little bit better than Caleb Farley's. But if they both reach their potential, Caleb Farley's potential is much higher. So I would definitely just swing the bat, 6'2", legitimate 4.3 speed as a corner. And Duke can bring the boom in. He's a ball hawk, and that's literally what our defense needs. So that would be my first pick, man, Caleb Farley.
That's exciting. That is exciting. Yeah, you know what I see in Caleb Farley? This is gonna get Broncos fans really excited. I see Champ Bailey 2.0, man.
And that's my favorite Bronco player ever. So like it really, you're 100% right. They're about an inch difference. Weight's about the same, speed's about the same. So I really do believe he could develop into a legitimate shutdown, especially in Vic Fangio's defense, man. So him or Patrick Surtain, that would be my pick. I know that's kind of a toss-up, but for a lot of people, but if we got Caleb Farley, man, I'd be extremely happy. I'd buy that jersey day one,
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. And that's a name you could count on, man. That dude, check out his stats, man. I'm going to try to have a few highlights here in the video, man. But Caleb Farley is the truth. Let me tell you, he is the truth. All right, round 2. You guys got 1 second round pick. What do you guys got?
I think it's going to be one or two kind of ways we can go. So obviously we don't know what's going on with free agency. I'm assuming we're going to keep Kareem Jackson for one more year. He has one more year left in his contract. But the way we play defense, we'll roll out 3 safeties, and we're missing that third safety and eventual Kareem Jackson replacement. So the player I would pick in that spot, if he fell this far, I don't even know if he'll fall because of just his pro day stuff and some interviews. He's kind of been skyrocketing. But Richie Grant out of UCF, smaller school, but he's a big time player, man. And hearing Steve Atwater watch some film on him and kind of gave some analysis, man. And like, I think he's going to be a steal if he slides to the second round. So that would be my ideal pick, would be Richie Grant. And that would give us 2, like I said, our secondary is really kind of hurting, kind of aging out. That would give us 2 playmakers for long term in the same draft. And that would be phenomenal. It's like 2 top 30 players easily.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love it. I love it, man. Now, round 3, who do you guys got?
So this one's a little bit difficult because I think this is where the draft is going to actually start. I really think round 3, there's going to be players that are going to be round 2, round 1 guys that kind of slide, like you mentioned earlier, to maybe round 3.
Yeah.
My first pick, I was thinking going through this is Carlos Basham, defensive end out of Wake Forest. If he slid down, because again, we need some more depth on our interior. We run a 3-4. He's 6'4". Like 280-ish. So that would be great as a 3-4 defensive end. Allow the linebackers to stay clean. If for some reason he were to go a little bit earlier, Baron Browning from Ohio State, I think would be a phenomenal pick. We need some linebacker help. So coverage linebacker help we do need. And the good thing about this draft is there's a lot of depth at safety and linebacker. So I think we can get a Baron Browning 3rd or 4th round regardless, but 3rd round, I know he'll be there at that pick we have. So that would be one of those 2 would be ideal. If I had to pick one, I think Carlos Basham would be a better long-term pick. Browning would be a more immediate upgrade because we really need help covering. We're in the same division as Travis Kelce, Darren Waller. So we need a linebacker that can kind of run with them. And right now we don't have that. Yeah,
absolutely. And you guys have a very crazy division because you got Justin Herbert. Wow. No one saw that coming, including me. I'll admit when I was wrong. We got Kansas City Chiefs. They went to their 2nd Super Bowl. Thank God they lost. Raiders, they got a better team, but not such a good of a coach. So let's see if John Gruden can kind of get it together. And then there's the Broncos. So there's a lot of speed in this division, a lot of speed, a lot of explosions, a lot of fireworks, in other words. So yeah, I agree with you, man. Having speed on defense is definitely going to be clutch. So definitely seeing y'all drafting early on defense. Now, round 4, got 1 4th round pick. Who you got?
Round 4. This is kind of like a sleeper death pick, man. It lets you know I really watch football. I really pay attention to draft stuff and scouting profiles. But Brady Christensen, who's a tackle out of BYU. We have Jawan James, who's been hit or miss, man. Like you guys happily let him come to the Broncos. Y'all didn't want to pay him. The Dolphins didn't. So we overpaid this man. He's played like 10 games in 2 years for us. He opted out last year. So this year it's kind of hard to get off of his contract. But next year, I believe we can save about $18 million if we do a post June 1st cut, and it walks away with like a $2 million cap hit. So I think it'll give us time to have a guy like Brady Christensen develop for a year if he does play. And if he doesn't play, we have the best offensive line coach in the NFL, Mike Munchak. So I think he
Yes.
can get him up to speed pretty quickly to kind of fill in at that right tackle spot. And he's a phenomenal power player. Like he gets after on the run, and his pass blocking is severely underrated because it was a small team. But I do think our offense is set. We have a lot of young pieces that just need to grow, but I do think we could use a little bit of depth at the tackle position, most definitely.
Yeah. And what's excited about, Mr. Christensen is that, he blocked for probably arguably, I said arguably, because we won't know until you make it to the next level, probably the best quarterback in the draft. You know what I mean? So to take and have someone like that coming in your team and to slide in the fourth round like that, I agree with you, man. That's a very good pick, man. And you see the importance of O-line, Mr. Patrick Mahomes running for his dear life.
which always makes me happy. Seeing Patrick Mahomes running for his life is always a good sign if you're a Broncos fan. It was a little bit hard that Super Bowl seeing Tom Brady, Broncos nemesis for years, and then seeing Patrick Mahomes, I was like sick, but I would rather the division. I'd rather somebody in another conference win a Super Bowl than the Chiefs. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you on that, my man. All right, so we got, let me see here, 1, 2, 3, we got 5 picks left. Now you guys have a total of 10 draft picks. We're already halfway done with this mock draft. We got round 5, man. Who do you guys got?
Man, this pick I would love. I'm a University of Miami fan, so this pick kind of hurts me to make, but I know this dude's a player because I've seen him up close. But Marvin Wilson, defensive tackle out of Florida State. We have Mike Purcell right now, who's coming off of a major injury as like a run stuffer nose tackle. But other than him, man, we don't have a lot of like power depth at that nose tackle position. I think Marvin Wilson could develop into that, be a good, goal line D tackle. And when Mike Purcell does need to get out and get some rest, or if he doesn't bounce back from the injury like we think, I think Marvin Wilson can definitely step in and, plug up the middle of that defense, help keep our linebackers clean, man. Dude's he's like 330, 338, something like that.
Yeah.
Big guy, very powerful player. And then, of course, D tackle does take some time to translate to the NFL from college. It's one of the hardest positions to transition because you could throw everybody around in college, but you're facing grown men in the NFL. But I do think he has the ability to, make that transition relatively quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And he it'll be nice because you got Von Miller on that D line over there with you guys, a few other guys. He'll fit in quite well. And Florida State, I mean, he played with guys like Joshua Kando, another great defensive end and stuff like that. So it's gonna be very, very exciting, man. But if he slides to y'all, man, that'll be definitely a good look. Got 4 more picks, man. Round 6, you're on the clock. Michael Williams, who you got?
I would say for this next pick, and I think this is one of those guys that because there's not going to be a combine this year, he's going to slide a little bit further than he would if there was a combine because his size and et cetera. But William Bradley King out of Baylor, man, he's an edge rusher. Okay. We have obviously we have Von Miller, we have Bradley Chubb. Von Miller, we don't know what's going on. They have that investigation.
Yeah.
We have Malik Reed, who was like the rotational piece last year, had 8.5 sacks, but I think he's more of a change of pace outside linebacker. William Bradley King has the length, the size, the speed to develop into like an every down star that you get later on in the draft. So I think that would be an ideal later round pick, and we've shown a history of taking later round guys and turning them into players. Shaq Barrett was a undrafted free agent that the Broncos picked up. He's led the league in sacks and is getting ready to get a huge payday. So I think that we've shown over the years, Malik Reed, 6th round draft pick that had 8.5 sacks stepping in for Von Miller last year. So I think that's somebody that could step in, man, and like make some noise rotationally, and then long term will be a good outside linebacker staple for us.
Awesome. And then you guys got actually not 1, not 2, but 3 7th round picks. One of them is yours. The other one came from the Giants. Another one came from the Cleveland Browns. Who you got in these final rounds? Now for most teams, a lot of teams, it's like, hey, let's take a risk on this, guys. This is where a lot of risks happen late in the draft. And sometimes even troublemakers or folks who maybe had some injury problems. They'll slide to this point in the draft, man. Who you got? Who you got this last final round? 3 picks.
The first pick I would make in this because again, we're talking later round. Mm-hmm. So if something happened where William Bradley King didn't, pan out, I think a good idea is to double up at that position just to kind of see. So I think Chris Rump from Duke, Chris Rump II, okay. He definitely needs some more development, some more experience as an outside pass rusher on the edge for us. But I think that guy has a lot of traits that if there was a combine, I think he'd be an early day 3 pick, maybe slide into I don't think he'd probably slide to day 2, but he would be an early day 3 pick, 5th round, 4th round, probably 5th round. But because there's no combine, he's somebody that could be 7th round or undrafted. And I think for us, that would be a just to ensure that we get at least one edge rusher. With those late round picks, man, you got to take some flyers on some players. And I think that's somebody that could step in and make some noise and be a special teams contributor right away. You know what I'm saying?
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. You got 2 more picks in the 7th round.
I would say our next pick, Lorenzo Neal out of Purdue, defensive tackle.
I know that name.
I think he has the ability. Yeah. I think he'll have the ability to play defensive end in the 3-4 or to play that nose tackle position. I think he kind of has a little bit of that flexibility to do both. He wasn't necessarily the most dominant D tackle, in that division. Obviously, they're Purdue's in a strong, solid division, so it's not like he's as well known as some other players. But he's somebody that could develop, I think, or stay on the practice squad. Maybe build his strength up a little bit and then be a regular contributor. But our defense, man, is something people don't realize. This whole draft I'm going through is mainly defense because our defense is old, man. People don't realize that last year, man, we were down to our 4th corner. That was starting, in addition to Michael Ojemudia, who was a rookie 3rd round pick we took last year. And he had a few games that were off, but for sure, but he bounced back. I like his mental toughness, but we need some more depth at some of these positions and some more youth, man, because our team is old. They're on cheaper contracts, but they're just older players that we need a kind of an influx. So there's only 2 players in this mock draft that are going to be on the other side of the ball because last year we went so heavy on offense. And I think between free agency, we should fill some of this, but I still think even if we feel to need that corner D tackle edge, that these are good players to draft and either have them on a practice squad or, they could be special teams contributors right away.
Dope. I love it. And then last pick of the draft, Cleveland Browns. They gave you a gift. Who you got?
Yeah, man, you're right. So this one, again, KJ Costello, the quarterback from Mississippi State.
Oh, yeah.
Good 7th round pick. Again, he's not. I think we need more arms in camp. I mean, having Jeff Driscoll as a backup quarterback isn't good. I think we'll sign a veteran for sure to kind of push Drew Lock, but we need another live arm. Jeff Driscoll showed he's not going to be a long-term good solid backup. So I think KJ Costello, man, worst case scenario be a camp arm, practice squad kind of player with the expanded practice squad. Yeah. But I think he could develop into a long-term starter like a Fitz Magic,
Oh, yeah.
I think he could develop into a player like that. The worst case, if he has to miss a few games like Drew Lock because he has had a few injuries, I think he could develop into a player that can kind of step in and stay serviceable. And it's a little competition. I mean, a 7th round quarterback against a starter is nothing crazy, but it does put a little bit of pressure on Drew Lock to perform to what I think he can perform to. And I might be wrong, man. We might be having this talk again next year. And, we got a high draft pick and I'm like, hey, so this next quarterback prospects who we get. But I think Drew Lock, man, he's only 23 years old, but I do think competition is good. If your player's not playing like he needs to be, have somebody come in and compete, and that'll always light a fire under their butts,
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of folks are very quick to take him right off Drew Lock. I know there's been a lot, unless you've been living under a rock, and I know you haven't for the folks watching, you got Deshaun Watson, man. He is playing Russian roulette with the dang NFL right now. And everybody's looking, Broncos, the Bears, Washington football team, the Jets, the Dolphins, even though it ain't going to happen. All these different teams, and it's like, man, even Russell Wilson, is there trouble in paradise? Sam Darnold, where can he go? So we're going to see some Cam Newton, it's looking like he's not going to be with the Patriots. So there's a lot of teams. So, I could definitely see you guys, if not picking up a quarterback late in the draft, not to replace Lock, but of course, you know, hey, you got to keep people on their toes. You know what I mean? Because he has this year, and if you don't produce, and you know, on to the next one, you know, kind of thing. So awesome. And then were there any notables, like anybody in the draft you think that we could potentially were there any picks in the draft where you're like, man, well, maybe we may go a different direction or anything like that?
Yeah, man, there's a few I had. I just wanted to give people like a clear like draft schedule. Like if this is how I was doing my draft, this is what I would line up. But a little bit earlier at the quarterback position, Kyle Trask out of Florida would be great competition for Drew Lock. I think that would be a good pick. Potentially a little bit if we decided, hey, a little bit earlier we want to take a pick. We don't want to wait till later on.
Yeah.
As far as edge rusher, man, Shaka Tony from Penn State.
Oh yeah.
I think he's a beast. And me being a University of Miami fan, Jalen Phillips in the second round, I think he'll go maybe first. Like he's kind of getting some first round conversations.
Yeah.
And second round at number 9, that's too high of a pick for him. But I think he has the tools, man. He had some concussions early on in his career before he transferred to Miami, and he retired and came out of retirement and set the world on fire. So, and then another name, man, I have a couple more I can name you. There's players I like a lot.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be Miami biased, but I think if the Broncos do trade back, which I think has the potential to happen, let's trade back in the draft. I know we have a lot of picks, but just depending on how the board falls in the beginning, if we did trade back, Gregory Rousseau, you know, I think he's going to be like a Calais Campbell in the NFL, man. I think that guy has some big time potential. 6'6", 270. So he'll fill in a little bit more, probably get up to 280, 290. Yeah. And I think he's going to be a player, man. That dude had second most sacks last year behind Chase Young, you know? So I think that was great. He opted out this year, so he's one of those players that we don't really know where he's going to go, but I'm pretty confident he's going to go in the first round. And then if we were going to draft a corner besides Patrick Surtain or besides Caleb Farley, J.C. Horn, obviously, you know, Joe Horn's dad.
I heard he's going to be in the draft this year.
Yeah, that man is a beast. I think he's definitely going to be a first-round corner, but I think he'll be kind of like the back half of the first round. He's a great man corner. He definitely is a physical player. We play a lot of zone, but I think if you can play man-to-man that well, Vic Fangio, I have confidence in coach him up to play a little bit of zone. But I do like the idea of having a corner you could just leave on an island, let him wipe out, you know, whether it be Tyreek Hill or Keenan Allen or, you know, we have a lot of good receivers in our division. So I feel like that those top 3 corners are all players that I feel like you can kind of draft. They're going to have to do some development, of course, but you can kind of long term let them sit on an island and just have to field you don't have to worry about. So those are a couple players I was thinking about, man, and maybe one more on the linebacker thing is Jeremiah Owosu Koromora. It's like the hardest name to say.
You said that well, bro.
He's a linebacker from Notre Dame, and he has phenomenal. He's probably the best coverage linebacker in the draft. I know a lot of people say, you know, Micah Parsons, etc. And I might be thinking because I've seen Jeremiah more recently, but just looking at the coverage stuff, I feel like Michael Parsons, man, like he's going to be a beast, but he does have some character concerns. I feel like looking at him in coverage against certain teams, especially when he played Ohio State, like he was getting toasted a few times. Like he's a little bit more stiff in coverage. But I think both those players can line up on the edge, line up in the middle. But Jeremiah is a better coverage linebacker. I think he's probably the best coverage linebacker in this draft. Immediately stepping in, and we need somebody that can kind of stay with a Darren Waller or Travis Kelce because they're going to be in the division for a while, and both those boys are beasts, you know. So that's kind of some of the people, man. And honorable mention, it makes me sick naming so many Florida State players. Being a U fan, you know what I'm saying?
Shouts out to the U.
But they have some prospects this year, man. So Trevor Moore got a TCU first before I go to the Florida State safety, but Trayvon Moraig, I think, is going to be a beast. That's absolutely hands down the best safety in the draft. I just don't think he's going to – number 9 is too early to take him. I just don't know if he'll be there at 40. If he's there at 40, I would turn that card in so fast or my head would spin. But a corner or a safety, rather, that we could draft a little bit later on is Hamza Nasruddin from Florida State. Dude is huge, man. He's 6'4". You know, he would be a great box safety bring some power. He can kind of help cover some of those tight ends I talked about as well, because he has the size and the speed to kind of keep up with them. But that's kind of how I'm thinking for this draft, man, is really heavy on defense. We definitely need to pick up an offensive tackle prospect. I could honestly see the Broncos drafting late a running back, somebody later on, if Philip Lindsay doesn't come back. The Colorado kid, I love him. He's, one of my favorite players currently. But if he doesn't come back, I could honestly see them drafting somebody at the running back position. I didn't really talk about it because I don't want it to happen. We don't want to talk about the negativity, but I could see that happening too. I wouldn't be surprised at all, but I don't think we'll draft more than 1 or 2 players on offense. We're going to really focus on defense this year.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man. Well, Mike, I really appreciate you having you on the show, man. Out of everybody, and I know quite a few Broncos fans, man, nobody knows the Denver Broncos like you do, my man. And hey, who knows, man? Hey, this guy, he looking for a job, Denver Broncos. If you're watching, man, support my dog. He lives up the street in the Springs.
Absolutely, man.
Hey, always a pleasure, man. God bless you, man. And everybody, thank you so much for watching another episode of the Touchdown with Doug Smith. Make sure you guys go hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Also, as well, hit that alert that lets you know that, hey, I got a new episode out. Cover the whole entire NFL league, and definitely always a pleasure to take and cover the Denver Broncos, man. For everybody watching, have a good night.
Time to tune in. Now another sports center. It's a movement.